Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, Understanding Air Purification and Your Lab Safety, which will be presented by Mark Castanheiro, Sales Manager with Quatro Air Technologies, a very relevant topic for right now. So at this point, I'll pass it right off to you, Mark.
Thanks, Caitlin. I appreciate that. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody is healthy and safe as everyone's looking to reopen their labs and their businesses. As Caitlin mentioned, this is a very hot topic and certainly something that is worth addressing. I know there are a lot of questions out there. Certainly, we've been fielding a lot of these phone calls and questions that we've been getting from lab owners and also from dentists. So just a quick introduction. As Caitlin mentioned, my name is Mark Castanheiro. I'm the sales manager for Quatro and have been for the last 3 years or so. But Quatro has been around for almost 30 years. We actually started making air purifiers, but with the explosion of digital dentistry, we moved to selling more dust collectors for lab applications than actual air purifiers. So it looks like we're getting back to our roots thanks to COVID-19. So dental labs, of course, are starting to open up after having been closed for a few months, but many of your dental clinic customers actually remained open for emergency procedures during that time. And many of those dental clinics reached out to us to ask for information on clean air solutions and more specifically extraoral suction systems for their dental offices. So I thought that maybe you should know and understand the kinds of questions that they were asking and to give you an idea of the kind of products that they were looking to buy. So the calls that we were getting were very specific, as I mentioned, to air purifiers and also to aerosol capture systems. And what I discovered during those calls is the lengths at which dentists were going to in order to inform themselves. And the questions were very specific and their needs were very well defined. Unfortunately, the information that was available and still is available wasn't always from the best sources and often left them more confused or misguided, I guess is a better word. So I'm going to try to address some of those questions and some of the misleading information that's circulating. My goal here is to provide accurate information so that you can make informed recommendations to your customers and also informed decisions for the products that you're purchasing for your lab. And of course, to show you how Quatro responded to those many questions in those conversations. So some of the questions that we got included, can air purifiers actually help capture and trap biological contaminants like the coronavirus? Another question we got was, just how effective are HEPA filters on viruses like the coronavirus? We also got quite a few questions about UV lights and whether they can be used to kill viruses like the coronavirus. And then, of course, what kind of products were we recommending to dentists and also lab owners to protect themselves from airborne contaminants like viruses? So before we get into the products and our clean air solutions, we should probably dive into some of the science involved to help us get a better idea of what we're up against. So the first question that we should address is, can HEPA filters effectively trap and capture coronaviruses? That's a really important question that came up more often than all the other ones. Well, one of the myths that's circulating is that HEPA filters cannot trap particles that are smaller than 0.3 microns, otherwise known as nanoparticles. So I think that's a good place for us to start this presentation. So we should start by understanding what a HEPA filter is in the first place. So HEPA stands for high efficiency particulate air or high efficiency particulate arrestants. Both of those terms are used, either one of those terms are used. So HEPA filters can only be called HEPA filters if they meet a certain minimum standard. They have to be 99.97% efficient in capturing particles 0.3 microns in size, a micron being 1/1,000,000th of a meter. Well, this is where the confusion starts. So the wording it seems to be a little tricky. The assumption here is that if particles are actually smaller than 0.3 microns, that they'll basically just pass right through the filter. So let's park that thought for a few minutes and we'll come back to it. So instead, let's jump to the virus itself. So to be clear, COVID-19 is the illness caused by coronavirus, more specifically the CoV-2 virus. And the coronavirus ranges in size from 0.06 microns to 0.14 microns, and that classifies them as nanoparticles. Well, from what we know, viruses don't become airborne on their own. They need some kind of vehicle to transmit them. In the case of dentists, they were concerned that droplets would be one of those vehicles. And the fine droplets or aerosols vary in size anywhere from 0.5 to about 5 or 6 microns, which is much larger than the 0.3 microns that HEPA filters are rated for. Now, we also know that the coronavirus remains active for several hours to several days, depending on the surface. So once caught in the filter, the virus will eventually become inactive. So larger particles, and when we talk about larger particles, we're talking about, relatively speaking, right? We're talking about particles that are bigger than 0.3 microns. So larger particles typically fly in a straight line when they get caught in an airstream. And they simply get trapped or strained by filter fibers. So that much is pretty straightforward. But let's say for argument's sake that viruses or nanoparticles could actually become airborne without using droplets as their vehicle. Well, if large particles fly in a straight line, nanoparticles act a little differently when caught in an airstream. Because they're so light, they don't fly in a straight line. They actually follow something called Brownian movement, which basically means that they buzz around in zigzag patterns. And when a filter captures a particle that way, scientists call it diffusion. So we have all this information. What does it all mean? So it means that larger particles either get strained or caught head-on by HEPA filter fibers. And by way of something called interception, smaller particles get caught up in the fibers as well. But even the superfine nanoparticles buzzing around the fibers will get caught by the HEPA filter thanks to diffusion. So how efficient is diffusion? Well, according to a NASA document that was published back in 2016, when used alone, HEPA filters capture virtually 100% of nanoparticles, even smaller than 0.01 microns. Even that can be a little not misleading, but certainly not clear. So I think this is probably the best way to really illustrate it. So as you can see on this graph on the left side, you see how diffusion actually increases the HEPA's efficiency as particles get smaller, even beyond 0.01 microns. So when we talk about 0.3 microns, we're actually talking about the most penetrating size particle for the HEPA filters to capture, not the smallest size. So the efficiency is in fact much higher as particles get bigger and smaller than 0.3 microns. And now to put things into perspective, a 99.97% rating means that it cannot let through more than 3 particles out of 10,000. And on this graph, the dip in the parabola is actually much more shallow. So to answer the question, can HEPA filters effectively capture and trap nanoparticles that are the size of the coronavirus? Well, the answer is absolutely they can. Now, the next topic that we ran into quite a bit is the need for UV lights in microenvironmental systems like portable air purifiers. Well, the belief is that UV lights will kill the coronavirus when it gets trapped in the filter or zapped out of the air for that matter. Well, here's what we know about UV light. UV light has been proven to kill bacteria, and a bacterium is a living organism. And when a bacterium is exposed to UV light long enough, it dies. The problem with wanting to use UV light to kill the coronavirus is that it's not considered to be a living organism, and therefore it can't really be killed. So if we can't kill it, then somehow we have to deactivate it. So the question then becomes, can UV light deactivate the coronavirus? Well, the answer is yes. We know that the most effective type of UV light for sterilization and germicidal purposes is UVC, or far UVC. And UVC has been proven to break down the building blocks of bacteria and viruses, rendering them inactive. The question we should be asking is UV light ideal in microenvironmental systems? Well, we know that any viruses that get trapped on the HEPA filter are just that, trapped on the HEPA filter, and won't be released under normal operation. We also know that those viruses will eventually be deactivated when caught in the filter. Depending on the study, that can take anywhere from a few hours to a few days. To be clear, viruses don't need UV light to be deactivated. They will break down in time, making the use of UV lights, in our opinion, redundant in microenvironmental systems like air purifiers. UV light would serve a greater purpose if they were located in the ductwork of HVAC systems. So if the end user wishes to have UV lights because they feel it would be beneficial, then we would suggest that they purchase a duct mounting UV kit that's designed to be installed in the ductwork of an existing HVAC system. And Quatro does offer those kits at a very reasonable price, somewhere around $250 or $260. But now for those customers that insist on having UV lights in their HEPA filtration systems, we offer them in our bigger AF1000, AF2000 air purifiers. So UV lights are not available in the smaller systems like an AF400. And the bigger systems run anywhere from $4,000 to about $6,000. So just to summarize, we do make UV air purifiers, and we sell them to hospitals, other medical clinics, for example, that have a much higher concentration of contaminants. But for dental labs and dental offices, we believe that UV lights are more useful, much more useful if installed in the general ventilation ducts that distribute air throughout the entire workplace. Before we go on, I probably should have mentioned this at the very beginning of the presentation. If anybody has any questions, rather than stop the presentation, please feel free to take advantage of the chat function. You can put your questions in there. We're going to take about 10 or 15 minutes after the presentation to answer any questions that you may have. So feel free to use the chat function, and I'm pretty sure Caitlin will be keeping track of that, and we can go over some of your questions a little bit later on. So now that we have a handle on the science end of things, we should probably take a look at how Quatro has responded to the need for clean air solutions specific to dental clinics. Well, we should start by choosing the right equipment. The equipment should have HEPA filtration for all the reasons that we just went through, preferably with deeper pleats. Deeper pleats equals more surface area, and that means not having to change filters as often, resulting in reduced downtime and operational costs. You should also be looking for a brushless motor system. Well, brushless motors typically last 10 times longer than brush motors. They also deliver more airflow than brush motors, which is perfect for the aerosol capture applications that dental clinics are dealing with. And finally, brush motors generally generate carbon dust as brushes wear down. It's not always an issue in certain industries, maybe not even in a dental lab, but for dental offices where clean air is paramount, brushless motors are definitely an important factor to consider. So for dental clinics, we're recommending a combination of two systems to provide the most complete solution. First, we have a source capture system that sits chair side. Source capture is the most efficient way to capture aerosols, getting as close to the patient's mouth as possible and providing suction while they're in the chair will provide the most efficient protection. However, when a patient enters or exits the operatory, there is the potential to expel aerosols into the room. Unfortunately, a chairside unit won't have any effect on those aerosols. So we're recommending a compact air purifier, powerful enough for a room of about 150 square feet. Now, our air purifiers are designed to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And in that size room, the unit will provide 13 to 14 air changes per hour to continuously clean the air in that room. As far as the chairside units go, we offer two different models. The base model is the Medivac A. The Medivac A is for applications like hygiene and is designed to capture aerosols. The unit stands about 29 inches high once it's on its casters and is equipped with a 36-inch mobile arm and has a transparent 8-inch cone on the end. This is a two-stage filtration system, starting with a 2-inch pleated filter with a MERV 8 rating, and then the star of our show, which is a 6-inch deep bed medical grade HEPA filter. And of course, we realize it's not really practical to be bending over and turning this unit on and off with gloved hands, and so we're including a remote foot pedal to be able to turn the unit on and off. It's basically a toggle switch. So hit the pedal, the unit turns on, hit the pedal again, and the unit turns off. So there's no need to keep your foot on the pedal in order to keep the unit running. We also wanted to make it as portable as possible. So the unit does ship with casters, although we don't install the casters during shipping. We found that they were breaking during transportation. And so the wheels are put in a plastic Ziploc bag along with the power cord, the foot pedal, and the manual. You don't really need any kind of technician to install the wheels. It's basically 2 screws. You just need a simple Phillips screwdriver to put the wheels on. Very quiet at 56 decibels and will deliver 150 cubic feet per minute. Now, typically for source capture systems, we don't really talk about CFM unless the unit is expected to be on constantly. But when we get to the next couple of slides, you'll understand why I put the CFM rating for the chairside unit there. The Medivac S is the other source capture model that we offer. It's basically our deluxe model, if you will. It's the same size as the Medivac A, but with a few upgrades. So this unit is for all applications, including air abrasion, drilling, or any other procedures that may generate larger particles or harmful odors. We even had some orthodontists that were talking to us about a procedure where they use a handpiece to take a glue off a patient's teeth. And so that would, to us, is a larger particle and would need handling a little differently. And so the Medivac S would be for that kind of application. So it has an upgraded brushless motor that's designed for stronger suction and increased airflow. The I-Series intelligent control panel has a special feature called autoflow, which basically automatically increases the motor speed as filters become clogged in order to prevent the loss of suction or airflow. And the model comes with 2 capture nozzles. There's the wide plexi nozzle that is included with the Medivac A, and a tapered nozzle that's used to focus the suction point if it's ever needed. This unit has 3 different stages of filtration for all of these applications. So you have a large sealable filter bag in order to capture the larger particles. You also have an odor filter for the harmful VOCs, or volatile organic compounds. And of course, the same 6-inch HEPA filter that is in the Medivac A. Of course, we had to include the foot pedal and the casters with this unit as well. That keeps the unit mobile. Some of the doctors were saying that, I may have 3 or 4 operatories, but I'm only going to have 2 patients in the dental office at any one given time. And so can I wheel these units from one operatory to another? And the fact is that it's a simple plug into a wall. You unplug it and wheel it into the other operatory. So both of these Medivac units are completely mobile. So to summarize the differences between the two Medivac units, the Medivac A is the base model for aerosols, usually associated with hygiene applications, and the S is the upgraded deluxe model for all applications with a much stronger motor that offers 33% more airflow needed to handle more levels of filtration. Usually that's associated with the doctor's office. So that takes us to the other half of the combination solution, which is the air purifier. So the small air purifier that we're calling the AF400M is for use in reception areas or common areas of dental labs and clinics. It's designed to handle the volume of air in rooms up to about 150 square feet, assuming a standard ceiling height of about 8 or 9 feet. It has a powerful brushless impeller motor that moves a lot of air for such a compact unit. At 280 CFM, it definitely packs a punch for the size of it that it is. It has 2 stages of filtration that has the same filters as the Medivac A. We were trying to standardize the filters and try to help with keeping the cost of having to stock too many different filters. The unit also comes with audible and visual alarms that will signal the need for filter maintenance, which we'll get into in the next slide. Very compact at only 21 inches high. Mobile, again, we put the casters on it, and very quiet at 56 decibels. So try to put things into perspective. A normal conversation you would have with somebody if you were standing 5 or 6 feet away usually measures somewhere around 60 decibels. And as far as the replacement filters go, the AF400M, which is the air purifier, has 2 levels of filtration. So you can see the 2-inch pleated filter. We sell them in boxes of 6. And one of those filters would be expected to change out every 6 months or so. So buying a box of replacement filters should last you about 3 years. The 6-inch HEPA filter, it would be expected to change out every 18 to 24 months at a cost of about $100 per year. The Medivac A, as you can see, keeps the same filters, but because it's a chair-side unit, the concentration of contaminants would be a little bit higher. So although it's the same filters, the frequency of maintenance would be changed a little bit. So your 2-inch pleated filter would be expected to change out every 3 to 6 months. And then, of course, your same HEPA filter would be expected to change out every 8 to 12 months. And that we expect to be to run about $200 per year. The Medivac S is the deluxe model, and it has 3 levels of filtration. So you have a large sealable filter bag. We sell them in packs of 2. And you'd be expected to swap that out when the bag is about half full. Why half full? Well, the air actually has to pass through that filter bag before it gets to the other levels of filtration. So if it was completely full, you wouldn't have any air passing through at all. But we'll get into the Medivac S in terms of changing filters in another couple of minutes. The odor filter is basically a metal casing. It's a 2-inch metal casing that is filled with activated carbon pellets. And when you buy a refill from us, basically you're going to get a box of carbon pellets. There are enough for 2 refills. And after anywhere from 18 to 36 months, you basically remove the metal casing. There's a little trap door on the end of it. You open up the trap door, dispose of the activated carbon, and replace it with the carbon pellets that we send you in the box. And of course, the same HEPA filter that's in the other 2 units is a 6-inch HEPA filter and would be expected to change out every 8 to 12 months. All of these filters can be bought through Zahn. They're going to either be stocking these or we can drop ship them, but either way, they will be your distributor of your vendor of choice for these filters. So for the AF400M and the Medivac A, the filter maintenance alarm is basically a timer, and it's a timer set for 2,000 hours of motor runtime. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the filters need changing. It's basically a reminder to check your filters, and the timer is easily reset by pressing a few buttons on the control panel. The instructions would be in the instruction manual. So you certainly have to keep a logbook. I know that I suggest that to most lab owners in terms of keeping track of when filters and filter bags are replaced to make sure you're getting a proper life out of the filters and not changing them too frequently or too infrequently for that matter. So that's for the AF400M and the Medivac A. The Medivac S, that has the upgraded control panel, it actually has a pressure sensor that's built into it, and that will sound the alarm when filters get clogged, signaling the need to change your filters. So again, when we ship our units, the Medivac S, we ship it on speed 6 out of 10. There are 10 speeds to all of these units. And so as pressure builds up because the filter bags are filling up or because your HEPA filter is getting clogged, the motor will automatically speed up to compensate for any loss in pressure. But once it hits a certain threshold, then the alarm will sound, and that tells you absolutely you need to perform some kind of filter maintenance. We were also asked about cleaning and disinfecting the mobile arms on the Medivac systems. And the best solution there is it's actually soap and water. The reason why people are telling you to wash your hands as often as they are is because the virus, specifically CoV2 virus, is made up of a protein and something called RNA, and those are the building blocks of the virus. And there's a protective membrane of fatty tissue that surrounds those proteins, and the best way to break down that membrane is actually soap and water. But a high content alcohol disinfectant on the nozzle between patients certainly will work fine. Now, another question that we are getting from dentists that you may be privy to is do I absolutely have to buy both units for each of the operatories that I have? Well, we certainly understand that everyone is looking for cost-effective solutions and they want to get the best value. So telling people they need to buy both systems always seems to be quite self-serving, at least from my point of view. So we should certainly look at the benefits of using both systems. Now, we sell our air purifiers, our dust collectors, and our fume extractors through many different distribution channels. Aside from the dental lab industry, we also sell it to the jewelry industry, to the laser industry, just to name a few. And for all of those industries, source capture is always the first priority. Why? Well, it's basically logical. If you can capture most of the contaminants at source, then the risk for exposure is dramatically reduced. But anything that gets past the source capture, well, you need the right air purifier to clean that up. Having said that, dentists must follow their respective governing body guidelines on fallow times between patients. And the wait times can be reduced if you can increase the air changes in the room. Now, this CDC chart that you're looking at here shows that the more air changes you have, the faster the room gets cleaned. So if we use 15 air changes per hour as an example, if your air purifier can achieve 15 air changes per hour, and according to the CDC, the air in that room should be 99% clean in about 18 minutes. So let's see how our AF400 stacks up. So if we look at the AF400 working alone at 280 CFM, the unit will give you 17 air changes per hour in a 1,000 cubic foot operatory. And based on the CDC formula, that'll remove 99% of the particles from that room in about 17 minutes. Now, this is where the CFM, why we publicize the CFM on the Medivac systems. Because when both the AF400M and the Medivac A chairside unit are on simultaneously, you're now getting 26 air changes per hour if you combine the 280 CFM and the 150 CFM. Now, that same size room will achieve the same size particle removal rate in about 11 minutes. Now, on the lab side of things, as I mentioned, source capture is still the best way to prevent harmful odors and dust particles from reaching the lungs. However, air purifiers will be more important than ever before as lab owners look to protect themselves and their staff from harmful contaminants, including microorganisms. Now, you can be assured that all of our systems are equipped with medical grade HEPA filters as well. So if you already have an air purifier in place, you should definitely make sure that any filters that may need replacing are looked after. Now, these units are designed for high dust applications like dental labs. The AF400 is good for rooms in a lab up to about 120 square feet. The AF1000 for labs up to about 400 square feet. And the AF2000 would be good for open labs up to about 800 square feet. Anything bigger than that, then you're going to need a combination of multiple units. Now, these are just estimates, but they can be calculated more accurately based on ceiling heights and the total volume of the room that we're looking at. Now, we're very, very fortunate to have had Zahn as partners with Quatro for many years, but for dental clinics, we're relatively new to the distribution channel, and we understand that, and we understand that we don't have a track record with dental clinics. However, as I mentioned, we have been making air purifiers for the last 30 years for many different industries around the world. As a matter of fact, when the SARS pandemic broke in 2003, Quatro was selected as the product of choice to create safe hospital environments from the virus. Well, after assessing the performance and quality of many systems, some government-funded hospitals decided to purchase the Quatro Air Purification systems to contain SARS from spreading. And we actually sold over 200 air purifiers to hospitals in Beijing, which was ground zero for SARS. And we even had our equipment in the Canadian Embassy there in Beijing. And back in 2007, Capital Health, is a company out in Western Canada, turned to Quatro for air purification systems for their portable isolation containment systems, or PICS. So although we may be new to the dental clinic world, we certainly have been providing clean air solutions for hospitals, medical clinics, and other industries around the world for many years. Now, our systems are designed to heighten the level of protection for dentists and for lab owners. They're not meant to replace CDC recommended safety procedures like washing your hands or wearing masks that are proven to reduce the transmission of viruses like CoV2. We've updated our website to include a link to the products that we're promoting for dentists, as well as a long list of frequently asked questions that we've been getting with very detailed answers to those questions, more detailed than what I'm giving during this presentation. There are even some brochures that can be downloaded. Now, I understand there's a lot of information here to absorb. I certainly wanted to give you the confidence to buy these products, knowing that we've done our homework, and also to give you an idea of some of the questions that we've had to answer and how we've responded to them. So before we get to the Q&A, I may not get a chance. I certainly want to thank Caitlin and Zahn and the whole marketing team. Certainly one of the most top-notch marketing teams that I've had an opportunity to work with, for allowing me to spend some time with you folks today. And with that, we'll definitely open up the floor to any questions that you may have.
Mark, thank you. This was fantastic and very detailed, because we did not have any questions come in. So it looked like you covered everything.
Got everything covered. Either that or somebody fell asleep during the presentation. Could be that too.
No, I highly doubt it was that. That was a great presentation. But I do want to just remind everybody on the call that if there is anything that you want to go back and revisit from this webinar, we will be posting this on demand, both on our website and on our YouTube channel. All attendees will receive an email within the next couple of days with a link to the on-demand webinar. And if there are any questions that pop into your head after the fact, you can always email us at zahn@henryschein.com. We're happy to answer that or connect with Mark and answer that for you. And Mark, I just saw a comment come in, not a question, but a comment from Patty saying great information. So we really do appreciate this. Great presentation, great content, and we appreciate the partnership. Thank you.
No problem. Everybody stay safe. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We definitely want to make sure everyone gets the right information.